has been telling me I need to watch Obsession, but I was not ready for how hard this movie goes. Welcome back, everyone. We're here today to talk about Obsession, another new horror film that is in theaters and is honestly taking the theaters by storm. Before our showing, we actually had someone in the theater come out who worked there who said, thank you everybody for coming, and said that this is number 2 at the box office, and we're on week 3 at the time of this recording, and that audience was full. But before we get into this review, I want to know, if you had a one willow wish, what would you wish for? And remember, phrasing really is everything. So I'm not going to get too deep into spoilers with this one because I don't really think that I have to do that for this movie. I just feel like we can talk about the movie without talking about any of that. So just a heads up, this will be pretty spoiler light if you haven't seen it yet and you want to hear my thoughts on what I felt about this movie. I felt a lot of things when it comes to Obsession, to be honest with you. I think one of the highlights of the film for me is the feeling that you get while you're watching it, this feeling of anxiety that builds throughout the entire film. I said with Backrooms that this might be one of the most anxiety-filled films I've ever seen, but I think Obsession has more of that. Obsession definitely left me feeling like I needed to watch something else to recover because I was in a place where I just felt I had been on a roller coaster ride for about 90 minutes, just over 90 minutes technically. This one just comes in at just under an hour 50, an hour 49. But it was a lot of ups and downs with this movie. It was, I felt like I was watching a train wreck happen in real time and also somewhat in slow motion. It's just everything you shouldn't do. Watching characters do that, watching them make all the mistakes that I've made in the past when you are not able to be honest with yourself about how you feel about someone and not able to tell people just the truth. The only person that I think is able to do that in this film, to speak their truth, is Nikki. And we know how that goes for her. It doesn't work out well as a result, even though she is the one that I think is the most honest in this film in her natural state. I will say Indy's portrayal of Nikki in this as well, the actress that plays her, she did such an amazing job. She's definitely an actress to watch out for. So moving forward, if you see her in anything, if I see her in anything, I will be jumping on that bandwagon to watch it because her performance in this film is absolutely stellar. And there is a lot of range in what they asked her to do, and she did such a great job. But the whole cast really is great. And I think the cool thing about the way that this film was approached is that even though these are characters who are problematic, who maybe are not the best people, I feel all of them are still relatable and still likable in some way. We've got Bear, we've got Ian, and we've also got Sarah. And the other thing that I know is good about this movie in terms of a horror film is I actually remember all of the characters' names off the top of my head. I didn't have to look up any of those names. They were in my brain because I cared about the characters. And I cared about the characters because we have actors that are bringing a ton of depth to who these people are and thinking about the little intricacies of them and how what they say on the page is not always what they maybe really want or really mean. This idea of reading between the lines in a script like this, I think is really important. And the script supports all of that. The script is, I think, quite well crafted in terms of the story and how it plays out, but also in terms of the way that these characters talk to each other. And at times it is awkward, but it's awkward because it's intended to be. You're not meant to feel comfortable in this film. I don't think there was really almost any moment that I felt comfortable in this movie. The whole thing feels really uncomfortable and awkward. Even when you have these moments where people are having genuine connection and it's cute, there is looming dread over everything that you're experiencing. And that is something that you cannot get away from. And it definitely comes to a boiling point. When I was told about this movie, a lot of people just said, you have to see it. And I was having a conversation with someone who said, it's not super scary necessarily, but it's really well made. And I gotta say, there were moments I could not look at the screen because I was so scared of what was going to happen next. So while it's not one of those films that's terrifying in the sense of the level of how messed up people are going to get, although I think that happens too in this, it's really more about just what will happen next. You know something is coming, but you don't know exactly how it's going to play out. And the way that this film is shot is so smart. They understand how to use the frame to create the tension, to build the horror, and you have some amazing sound supporting all of that. And obviously, when it comes to horror films, sound is one of the most important things that you can play with when it comes to creating your vision. And the sound here is flawless. I mean, just even the little delicate sounds, like the turning of the One Wish willow in Bear's hands, the bigger moments, the building of tension when Sarah and Bear are in the car together and they're talking to one another, how the radio just slowly, you get a little bit of background noise that's slowly creeping up to a build. Everything is working to build that tension and build that anxiety within you, and it all works. And it works because this is a film that once again has such a strong and clear directorial vision. We have Curry Barker, who is directing this film, also a younger director, I think. Curry Barker is maybe around like 26. So same with, I was talking about Back Rooms, and the director of that movie, Kane Parsons, is 20 and kind of comes from the YouTube side. Curry Barker is also young and is also an up-and-comer. And I think the directorial vision is crystal clear in this film because Barker is also doing the script and the direction, right? So a writer-director combo, I always love to see what people are cooking up because it's really going to be their approach dialed in. And that is what you get with this film. And the film is interesting too because it's not all horror, and maybe that's what makes it so scary. There are moments that are kind of funny. They're funny in how uncomfortable you are, though, and something that I think about with this is how horror and comedy really do have a little bit of a fine line between them, because that response to laugh or to gasp or to hide your face almost live in similar places. When we're uncomfortable, we either want to run from it or we want to try to find a way to warm up to it to get rid of our discomfort, I guess. There are times when I laugh because I'm just uncomfortable, but it's an instinct. And so I don't know if that's us trying to adjust to the situation so that we can normalize it, but that is something that's really interesting in this film. And I think it also is portrayed in even the characters and the way they react to certain situations as well. Sometimes people are trying to play things off as jokes, which is both funny and terrifying. But the themes in this film are very strong, and what it's really about is, as the title would imply, obsession. That is a big part of it, but also relationships, communication, how relationships develop with people, and if we are really ready to be in a relationship, if we can be honest about what it is that we want from someone, what it is we actually like about someone, this idea of how when you fall in love with someone, you think you know who that person is, but sometimes the more you get to know them, the less they become like who you thought they were. And you realize that maybe this isn't the right fit for you. And then how do you deal with that in a relationship? Do you end the relationship? There's a lot in this film about the fear of commitment, the idea of commitment in not being able to commit to what's really happening in a moment. This idea of living in either the past or the future. You know, if I just have this thing, everything will be better. If I can just undo everything, everything will be better. So wanting to either go all the way back or all the way forward to when everything is worked out, as opposed to dealing with situations in the present. And there's a lot around this idea of not wanting to even commit to a relationship. There are some characters here who clearly have a fear of committing, and as a result, things do not work out great for them. And at the end of the day, although I think Bear does have a lot of positive qualities, it's that idea of how you can seemingly be a nice person, but really you're trash. That comes up in this film, and how our actions really dictate what type of person we want to be. I don't think there are really bad people, but there are definitely bad things that people do to each other. And while you might feel none of it is your fault, if you really take a close look, oftentimes when things are going askew, part of the problem is always going to be you, right? Because you're there in the moment in that relationship. I think it's interesting how much this really cracks open the egg of just toxic relationships, codependency, and so many issues that can come up in a relationship. And while some people might not feel as connected to this film, if you are someone who has been in a relationship that's been even somewhat similar to this, I think this is really going to hit for you. And I've been in some scary relationships. So for me, this film was really scary because I understood what it was like to live in a bit of that position and feel trapped in a relationship. And in Nikki's case, I think what we're exploring is this idea of losing yourself in a relationship. Of course, there's other things at play there when it comes to that, but I think that's what that's meant to symbolize, that fear of who am I? I'm not even myself anymore, because it's all about what the other person wants me to be as opposed to who I want to be. That fear of losing yourself in a relationship and losing your own autonomy, I think, is really terrifying. So it's a great theme to play with for a horror film, and we examine all angles of it, so they do a great job. Now, the cool thing as well with Obsession is because it's based on the One Wish Willow, which is the stick that you break to make your wish, I think it's very possible that this could be franchised. I'm a little nervous because it's with Blumhouse, and Blumhouse has been pretty hit or miss lately. I like the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff that they've done as someone that's a fan of those games. Most other things I have not really liked that I've seen from Blumhouse recently, which is sad because there was a time when I was really excited to go see a Blumhouse movie, and I was really hopeful that they were going to be one of the major horror studios making great stuff. But it feels lately like they just grab things and throw them at the wall to see if they stick, as opposed to looking for ideas that are doing something innovative or interesting. But with Obsession, they struck a gold mine. And you could do this with different directors coming in with different wishes, saying different things about wishes and about different themes. And I hope they do that. And I hope it's good. Am I nervous that it won't be? You bet I am. But just don't mess it up, Blumhouse, okay? Don't mess it up, Blum. You got this, and it's a great franchise that was handed to you on a platter. So just keep it going. The other thing that I think guarantees we're going to see more of these films is this movie apparently cost under $1 million to make, and it has made over $100 million at the box office. So buckle up for more Obsession films, because they're coming. I hope that this doesn't even have a franchise name. I know we often need to do that to get people to come to the theater and see what it is based on the merit of those other movies that have come before. But I like it as you just do a one-word title for each of them, and they're all kind of about different things. Like this is Obsession, but maybe the next one is, I don't know, complacency. I don't know. You could do anything. You could really ignorance. There's a lot of different things we could explore with the One Wish Willows and what people wish for. And goodness knows, I think humans are really good at making terrible wishes. As I said, if you're wishing for something as opposed to making it happen yourself, in most movies, that's not going to turn out very well for you, in my experience. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the movie. I really loved it. I thought it was absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait to probably also own this movie, although I don't know how often I'll watch it because it really made me feel uncomfortable in a way that I'm not sure I want to revisit for a while. But that's how I know it was good. When a movie really makes me feel something deep, that's how I know it was good. So yeah, another masterpiece. I don't know. Is this a renaissance of horror? Let me know what you're thinking down in the comments below. I personally think we might be entering another golden age of horror where we're going to have all these up-and-coming directors making really cool things, and I'm very excited for it, and I can't wait to see what we get next. That's all I have for this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on Obsession. I'll be down there to discuss with you. And until next time, friends, as always, stay nerdy. Bye! And if you love when I talk about horror, I love to do it. So please check this out next, because I think you're really going to want to hear more about it.